Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. This, I assure you, is designed to be a fun episode. We are going to have fun. I promise you, we are going to have fun today. I don't know if anybody who follows my show took the risk, gambled, pulled a Kenny Rogers and decided to gamble on this business of LockPay. And if you did, I apologize. I know I had some partial listeners. I don't know if they were followers, but I had some partial listeners who said they were going to toss some money in it. To you, I say, I apologize. I never want to see people get ripped or taken for a ride. That's a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 reference. I never wanted to see that happen to people. And it feels like people didn't really learn the lesson or something. So I want to do the best I can, if I can, to put some framework around why I said what I said, which was, I'll repeat it, there was about 3 or 4 videos I did where I said the LockPay Michael Bolduc, and in my little thumbnail there, he's the guy on the right, I said, for me, he comes across like a used car salesman. In his pitch, the site, the everything felt slimy and scummy and had no confidence from me, but I said, if you're a gambler, by all means, I even gave you the site address. That's how nice I am. I told people, if this is what you want to do, I'm not telling you not to. I'm telling you it feels shady to me. And I don't necessarily trust this dude as far as I can throw him. Thus, I refer to him as Car Salesman 2.0. Fast forward a little bit. I did another video and I said, if you go back and listen, I challenge you, please do so. I said, let's assume even if he's legit, let's assume he's got the best intentions. Let's assume he's just, that's just him and he wants to do right and he wants to turn it around and all that. I said it was going to plateau and then it was going to crap because assuming he's legit, somebody's going to figure out a way to get around his ADM because it always happens this way because smart contracts are public. You can see the code. Because you can see the code, you can exploit the code by getting creative. Now, if you've been watching LockPay's chart, you know that it's crapped. It hasn't gone to zero, but it's crapped. It's significant amounts of sales to the tune of it's like tens of thousands of dollars in multiple situations. And in a lot of cases, it's the same wallet over and over again. And a lot of people on YouTube, there's a guy, Diapper whatever. And he initially, he put his video and he's like, yeah, this LockPay thing and it's going to be great. And he did an update, the sailor, whatever, Michael Bolduc, he did a thing in Telescam and he's going to, we're going to get back on track. And apparently there's this breach and some exploit he's going to patch and all this. This Diapper was just putting the guy over. And then he later edited his comment saying, update, nope, sketchy shit going on. Listen, I don't know at what point, and all I've ever asked of people, like I'm not here saying neater, deep. I'm saying when I do the coverage I do, it's always on what I see, always. The stuff is on the site. It's obvious. The stuff is in the code. It's obvious. The audit was garbage. It's obvious. These are obvious things. I'm not making them up. So when I hear other people putting the guy over, I'm like, I'll just sit back and marinate in the cut and wait until they prove themselves out, A or B, because I acknowledge maybe he's the best of intentions, but his mechanic is not going to stop people from getting around the so-called ADM. So now that the graph is crapped, people have gone out on Twitter and they are absolutely upset. They're livid. They're pissed off because people have lost money because there was a period of time where you couldn't sell. It was literally blocked from selling. I actually verified this myself. PancakeSwap threw a generic error. It didn't throw the 1 to 5% error that comes from the code. It was a generic error saying there's something wrong with the token, which means that they blocked it. So when I had shared out through RugDoc, through Market Move, and then there's a guy called Large Lock, shout out to him or her, and they were doing analysis saying, nope, it's blocked from selling. It's a honeypot, blocked from selling, honeypot. And I got attacked all left ways to Sunday from the diehards in LockPay. Instead of them come and give my credit to say, no, I see these issues and it looks sketchy and Market Move's telling you there's going to be some issues selling this thing. And nobody believed me So now you're seeing all these excessive sells. Then I wanted to present this episode and defray the naysayers up front. So let's go through that real quick. And then I got some fun screenshots for you on my next slide. Number one naysay coming up. I know it's coming. I know it's coming. Dev need the money. Deep. Here's the thing. If the dev needed the money out of it, right? Let's say they needed it to build something or finance something or market something or whatever. What you're supposed to do is communicate with the people before you do it. And in a perfect world, you would still have yourself subject to the same withdrawal guidelines that you laid out. I covered, Large Lot covered, multiple people covered that the dev wallets were not subject to the ADM and thus could sell excessive more than everybody else. We said that multiple times. Nobody believed us. So no, I don't buy the argument that the devs just need to get money and decide to just take it without telling you in advance and then tell you after the fact. I'm sorry. That's a little bit shady. You have to acknowledge that's a little bit sketchy. I don't accept that as a mistake. I think that was intentional. Whether it was the devs or not doesn't matter. Point is, they said nobody can, it's on their site. Nobody can dump this. They dumped it, obviously. The next naysay. He's a good guy, deep. A good guy is going to communicate to you in advance and tell you what he's planning to do before he does it. And in a perfect world, we have it on the site of where he's going to do it. And oh, by the way, when in the code it says that he is exempt from this or he can whitelist his buddies, he would outright admit that, yes, we've whitelisted this for these people. And in a perfect world, he would use tools like Everlock from the Everrise system, shout out to them, to lock the liquidity so that he cannot take that money because he wants to prove to you that he is not a shady person. Here, he didn't even want to do that. Okay, I think I've got most of the naysays out of the way now. Maybe. I'm sure there'll be some. Anyhow, now something happens that I wasn't aware of. I want to show you something, and we're going to do this in slideshow fashion. This project, SafeJet, this is now getting the hype on social media. And if you've heard me say, I don't cover projects that get excessive hype on social media because they usually turn out garbage. I go down the list of the ones I've done in the past. I don't do it. SafeJet comes out of nowhere. SafeJet does the pre-sale. So it's a pre-sale. It sells out. It's the whole nine, a whole bunch of hype, whole bunch of jump. Guys, James Robbins, quote, CEO of SafeJet. Buy, hold, and earn, sleep like a baby. And they're talking about the creators of the ADM. Well, if you go back to LockPay, he states himself as the so-called creator of the ADM. Are you connecting the puzzle pieces yet? If not, I want to connect them for you, and I'll even serenade you with a little bit of music, and I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic, probably naive, but I'm optimistic. You will finally listen to me and give me my credit on these things I'm telling you to be the truth that are right in front of you. Watch this one, okay? Do you see something on this? I do. It's the same freaking template, same freaking site, same freaking layout, almost the same text, not quite. There's some edits, same crazy flashing button. Buy now, do, like AOL. Same deal. Do you know why the money, some of it from LockPay, was funneled over to start up SafeJet? You can go to Binance and the BSC scan yourself and verify this to be the truth because this project was spawned from money coming from LockPay. And you're like, well, what's the problem with that? I'll tell you why it's an issue, and it goes to my thumbnail when you started about the definition of a grifter. A grifter is somebody who uses dishonesty in order to trick people out of their money. Why do I know that this has to be the definition of a grift? Right here. The Crypto Guys is a YouTube channel. You can go there yourself and find them. The Crypto Guys, do these faces look familiar to you? I'm sure that they do because it's the same two guys. Mr. James Robbins over here on the left, Mr. Michael Bull Duke here on the right. Oh, look at that. LockPay is marketed down here. Turns out I didn't know this part. This was brought to attention by Car Salesman V1, which is on Seifu. Apparently, James Robbins is the brother-in-law of Michael Bolduc. So that, it's all in the family. Keep it in the family, like, Chris Tucker. But apparently they said, let's just go ahead and grift some people. And Bull Duke said, I'll just create up a project and build this ADM thing. And then once it gets high enough, we'll take some of that money and then we'll let you spin up a token off to the side and ain't nobody going to know it. Mind you, they're still on their YouTube channel doing their thing with over 4,000 subscribers, yet many of their videos don't get anywhere near the views of mine, and I have a fraction of their followers. Do you know what that means? That usually means that they paid for followers. I can't prove that. I'm saying usually this type of visual where you have two people joined at the hip on a YouTube channel together, where they have previously covered Project A, and then Project B comes out of nowhere. Do you know the level of effort it takes to spin up a token? Not a lot, but then to take the template and copy paste it over to a new and then fund it, because you got to add liquidity to it, do the ICO, do all this process, and then the video, if you looked again at the approach for the video on LockPay, what was my criticism? He came over here, Bull Duke, Car Salesman 2.0, and he's persuading. He's pitching like Pitchman, like the old TV show. Billy Mays, he's pitching, and you should do this, and this is what you're going to do. He does the 100 arrow over to 1 million business. On the SafeJet site, he's doing the same thing, except that it's James Robbins walking through some slum, and he does the same thing, 100 up to 1,000. The approach is the same thing. It's the exact same thing. You know what it reminds me of? For anybody who's old enough to remember, there's a service called Live Links. Live Links is still out there, but nobody uses it because people are afraid to talk on the phone. Live Links had multiple other services. They had a Red Hot Dateline and something for Latinos and something for us. It was the same channel. It was the same group of people. They just created different numbers to charge different groups of people, but it's all collected together. It's the same thing. The same structure, the same template, the same style of video, and the same two guys associated on a YouTube channel together that have been together for a long time with, I would argue, my theory, phony subscribers, and then triggered off the fact that LockPay dumps when Bull Duke told you that cannot happen. Again, at some point, it's like obvious. Like some of these are obvious things. There will be gamblers out there. I do not begrudge anybody who wants to gamble. I don't begrudge anybody who listens to Kenny Rogers and wants to roll the dice and see what happens. Maybe you win it big. If you don't, UPS is hiring. I'm not telling you not to do anything. I'm not telling you to avoid. I'm telling you that these two guys are grifters. They're the definition of grifters, and they're blatant about it. That's what makes it worse. Even worse than that, Car Salesman 1, Brian from Seifu, came out and said, I think these two are scammers. Do you know how bad it is when this guy over here, who comes across as a car salesman himself, tells these two guys that they're just scammers and we don't think it's worth it, we think it's trash, and they're basically eating each other? It's like coyotes, right? They're just attacking each other. And ultimately, Brian from Seifu, he's rug projects before, according to people that follow my show. This is like the worst in crypto, when you've got people that have failed, right? But they've had projects where people have lost money here. People have lost money on all of this garbage. They've lost money on Seifu now because it's crapped. It's now 27. I think it's trying to get back up, but it's struggling. You've had this LockPay. People have now lost money on that. And now you got people who are FOMOing into the SafeJet business, either not caring or not knowing that these two are in alignment on this. And some of the money from LockPay went to SafeJet. Do you know what that is? That's a Ponzi scheme. I can't tell them not to do it. All I can do is try to educate all these YouTubers out there that are telling people to get into SafeJet. I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted because, listen, even if you accept that this guy, Bull Duke, had the best of intentions and he just failed again, which I'd be shocked if that's the case. Because remember, Bull Duke was behind Made of Gold. What happened? It dumped. Bull Duke was behind DogePay, whatever. What happened? It crapped. Every project he touches turns to crap. At some point, why are you enriching failure? Even if he's not shady, why are you enriching failure over and over again from the same person who can't seem to get it together? There are other projects out there much more worth your time. Many of them, no, are not going to make you a millionaire overnight because those are the exception now. Many of the projects now are long plays. This is true. The only one that I can think of that's even close to potentially being able to do that in the near future is Satama V2. And it's also run by somebody incompetent. Anyhow. So Definition of a grifter is dishonesty used to take money from people. I can't think of better representatives of grifters than these two jokers because they are trying to basically build this Ponzi scheme to take money from people. And I don't know, like if you look at the LockPay official accounts, Twitter, it's gone silent. The only time you'd go silent is when you're trying to take people's money. If it was really legit, you'd continually do updates and tell people. It reminds me of Elephant Money. Elephant Money was giving updates at front, stopped giving updates. What happened? Nobody knows. Every one of these projects that's trying to make you an instant millionaire or all these gimmicks that they're doing to save you money, they all do the same pattern. Doesn't mean you can't gamble, and I'm not telling you not to gamble. I'm not telling you what to do with your money. I'm telling you, I personally, ethically will never support when it's an obvious grift, when it's an obvious joke, when it's an obvious scam, when it's scummy, slimy behavior like these two. I will never support it. You will never hear me support it. And to anybody that was in LockPay and lost money, significant money, and to put it in perspective for those that weren't, if you put in about $9,000, you probably lost about $6,000 or $7,000 ish because of what this did. And again, let's assume that there's some exploit. Okay, well, is he going to make it right for people? Is he going to help pay people back off the exploit? Because that's what you should do. Because even the Thorium exchange did that for people. When they got hacked, they paid people back. Will this guy, Bolduc, pay people back off the hack based on his contract he created? Remember, this got near like $100 million in market cap. Where'd all that money go? They couldn't have taken all of it because there's only thousands of dollars worth of sales. Where's the rest of the money? This is the thing. This is what you want to understand. This is what you want to embrace when I do the coverage and I say, I am looking at the fundamentals. I'm looking at their site. Is their site garbage? I'm looking at their white paper. Is there one? And if there is it a PDF that I can hold them accountable for what they say? Are they doing the flashing buttons like AOL in the 90s? It's automatically garbage. Are they doing the garbage Git book? Not everyone is garbage that does that, but if they do that, it means I can't trust them 100% because they could edit it off the scratch. If you're doing scummy videos like that, if there's excessive shill going on, I also said if you see unreasonable jumps, no project should just climb and climb and climb. None of them. None of the normal ones do that. They never have. Even Bitcoin at its peak had peaks and valleys. You're supposed to. You're not supposed to have unreasonable pumps. It's the greatest risk. That said, for everybody, please, I am not telling you what to do with your money. I'm only ever asking. Just admit you're a gambler. If you're FOMO and you can't resist the green candle, that's fine. Just say, I'm a gambler. I'm going to gamble on this. I'm probably going to lose it because the guy does look like a car salesman. Fine. If I lose it, cool. I will respect you for that stance. I'm not telling you not to go if you want to see gamble type, because you might have that as your strategy, and that's great. But I said in another video, don't tell me these aren't risks that you see. This is a learning lesson. They are risks. Whether you accept them as such is different. They are risks. We have to learn from them and ideally adjust the strategy to protect ourselves. I wouldn't want you throwing money away for the hell of it. Now, that said, you could be sitting on major bags, $100,000 and don't care to lose 1,000. Great. Support you 100%. So now we have Car Salesman 3.0. We got 3 car salesmen. We got Brian from Seifu. He's Car Salesman V1. He's the originator of the car salesman approach. He's gotten a little bit better, but he still has that car salesman twinge. I now treat Brian closer to the cult leader, which is Russ on Satama. They're now close, where they basically just say a bunch of shit and don't say anything at all. That's them. It's just a bunch of BS coming out of the mouth. That's those two. It's different now with Brian. So I don't know if that's because somebody checked him at the door or whatever. Seems like he's trying to mature a little bit, but he still comes across like a car salesman in some of his AMAs. So it's like whatever. And then Car Salesman 2.0 is Bolduc. Car Salesman 3.0 is Robbins. And now the 3 of them are just basically eating each other. And then he got Shinja, Cliff. He doesn't act like a car salesman. He acts like somebody that, like he's in a prison or something, and he has to front like he's somebody, but he's really nothing. He's really like one of those prison people off in the corner that gets his ass kicked all the time. That's how Cliff comes across. So he's not car salesman. He's just like punk, like, you know. But Russ is cult leader, car sales. It's shady business. Anyhow, LockPay and SafeJet, I believe they're aligned. I believe they're one spawned the other. Money from LockPay investors was used to fund SafeJet up front. They did the pre-sale. I understand this. But you can follow the wallets on BSC Chain and see that money flowed into SafeJet to help fund it. James Robbins is allegedly the brother-in-law of Michael Bolduc. That already creates another risk. Because they're just robbing Peter to pay Paul. Ponzi scheme 101. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just sharing information. Any questions, comments, updates, information, or something I didn't know? I doubt there is. But any questions or anything else before I wrap it up and get back to getting some water or something. And Midnight Craving, I appreciate the sentiment. Totally appreciate that. I try. There's a lot of, again, horrible channels. I don't know if you noticed, but all the other channels out there, they all have the same thumbnail, which is them looking shocked up at something. It's all the same garbage. The thumbnails are all crap. They're all doing it now. All of them are doing it. Every last one of them. It's terrible. Can't stand it. Henrio wants to know about Libero. I did a coverage just a couple yesterday actually on the apparently they backed off the V2. That makes me happy that they did. If they did, I think they got some work to do. And I still notice that Libero is giving more rewards than Libera, which I see why. It's because the volume of Libero is at rock bottom. The volume on Libera, nobody is buying or selling that at all. People are just sitting on it. That's weird because you're on an exchange and you can't sustain the volume. I don't know on that one. But the other thing is, I didn't do this piece. So I had sent back an email. They had reached out through Telescam. I told them you need to email me because we need to act like a business because I am a business. So they sent me an email. I responded on the email, never heard back. I went into Telescam today to check on a different project status. And turns out she chimed back in like 4 days ago and said, we emailed, didn't hear back, which there's no way. And I'm assuming they just don't know how to use Gmail because, I have a throwaway Gmail account, so I know how Gmail works. I know she would have got the email because we're using a business email that's fully signed. So I know she would have gotten it. They probably ignored it, deleted it, thought it was spam, trash. I don't know. So I'm going to resend that. But I did chime back and say, if you're having trouble with email, you can DM on Twitter. She said they couldn't message on Twitter. Yes, you can, but you have to follow the person. And then the icon shows up. They changed that. So I messaged them on Twitter to try to get the dialogue started again. I'm not chatting through Telescam. That's a no-go. That's not going to work because Telescam lets you hide information. It lets you, it's scummy. We need to act like a business. I need a paper trail of what we talk about so that if we create an agreement, I have it all documented and I can hold them accountable for what we agree to. So the summary is, I don't know if it's back on again because like I said, it was 4 days ago. And then today I just chimed and we'll see where that goes to try to create the partnership. As far as the project, I know that there's a lot of plan. They want to do the cell tax. They want to do the emissions change. They want to go forward with that, at least, just not the V2. I don't think it's going to move the needle, but they're at least trying to fix the problem. I just didn't think that was the right answer. The ZAP, to me, feels like the right solution. If you can get the ZAP working the way it's supposed to, I think that's going to do a better job of getting everything back on track. I don't know what that means. Whether they can, whether they can't, how hard it is, don't have that answer. So as it stands, I'm firm that Libero is the future that they want, and they're committed to solving this. I just don't know what that means. I can tell you that Libera, their whole vision for Libera was to manage inflation for Libero. So they built Libera under the assumption of enough volume that it would trigger burns of Libero to keep the inflation in check for Libero. When Libera's volume tapered and they weren't able to sustain it, now Libero's basically, because it prints, it has mint function for rebasing. So Libero's supply gets out of control, and then they introduced the ZAP, and then that caused excessive sell pressure. And so that's what caused this domino effect, all because they relied on Libera to manage the inflation on Libero. That's what caused this, was the creation of Libera in the first place and the dependency of Libera to manage Libero. What I think they should have done is to say, no, the Libero should manage its own inflation using its own mechanics. And as I called in the other video, the bond was the best way to do that. If you built vesting into it and then extended the vesting and then tie it to the Libero Bank, it would have done the same darn thing. And it would have done it better, and it would have been more appealing, I think, to people outside the bubble, right? Because as stands, all you basically did was let people launder it, essentially launder Libero. Now, the upside, though, and it's unfortunate, but it's true. Of the three banks we have, Liberator Bank, Libera Bank, and Libero Bank, right now, Libero Bank gives you better rewards than the other two, which should not be the case. But it is because of this churn. Libero has the highest volume. So anybody who's locked their Libero in the bank is getting major amounts of rewards coming at them, more than the other two. I have, again, $200 worth in Libera Bank, and it might get $1 every 3 days of rewards. But yet on Libero Bank, it gets $2 every day. Well, that's broken because I have half the amount of value in Libero Bank that I have in Libera, or excuse me, not Libera, Liberator. So in the liquidity pool, Liberator, I have 200 in there. Well, $200 worth should be getting me more than $1 every 3 days. That's a joke. It doesn't make any sense. And then I have a separate liquidity pool directly in BuySwap. That one gets, half $1 every day. So even going straight BuySwap is giving me more than Liberator because the volume's too damn low. And the volume's low because the newness is off and they didn't keep the momentum of the exchanges. I believe it'll solve, but as I said, I didn't want the V2 because I think it's too early and too premature to take that action. And I want to see what happens when the core tokens recover, the Bitcoins and the BNB, Ethereum. Once they start recovering, we have to see what effect that has on positive upward. I would like to see them shift some of the liquidity pools because I know that they tied most of the liquidity pools to BNB and that hurt them a little bit. One thing about Hex tied the majority of their pools to USDC. So I would like to see kind of back-end liquidity pool changes as well on Libero's, mostly the Libero token. I don't care about the other ones, but the Libero token, I would like to see them tie to USDC on at least one pool and then put like maybe $1 million worth of value to that to just kind of be persistent. On Phantom Libero, they launched it with USDC, but for whatever reason, they went away from it. I don't know why, but then on the Phantom side, it gets more value, more rewards than the regular Libero, even though it only has like 10,000 holders versus 140 for the main Libero. So the whole thing's jacked up. And it's their own creation. They did it. And hopefully we can get it back on track. And if she responds, I'm happy to help best I can because I still think that the bond is the key out of this. I think the bond is the easiest, cleanest, slickest way to get positive momentum. But I think we also have to give chance for the core tokens to get back on track too. And as a side note to that whole business, I still want to give a shout out to the community, the Libero community. You're very welcome, Henrio. The whole community of Libero, I do think it's a good community. And it's unfortunate that this is happening because I think it's a good community that's like, if you think of Seifu's community is absolute garbage because they did the hype and then it crapped and then they didn't acknowledge that it crapped. And I know some of them are really got wrecked initially. Some people are wrecked now. I know some people made millions, but it's unlikely it's going to get to that point. Seifu's community is nowhere near what Libero's became. I think Libero did a good job at first creating this really good community. And then when they started chasing shinies, it just harmed the community sentiment. I don't think it's degraded into, the toxicity level, but I think a lot of them are hopeful and optimistic, which is why I want to get and help them because I do think that there's at least part of the community that recognizes that I'm trying to help them and I've got good ideas that can possibly get them back on track. And I don't charge significant amounts of money from a service. I need the money in order to help. It's not for me to get enriched. I already got the stuff in the bank. I don't care if it's locked in the bank, what you pay me, but I need a little bit of something so I can help with the outreach and the communication. So we'll see if they chime back and they find my email or they chime back on Twitter so we can reignite that. But that is back on track. And again, thankful to the community for hammering on those guys. I'm pretty sure somebody has been beating them up to get connected with me. It's just for whatever reason, they're stuck in Telescam. I'm not doing business in Telescam. We got to act like a business. Infrarand, welcome. I think it needs to be approved. Left a comment. I think it needs to be approved. Requesting some contacts. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Infrarand, for wanting to kind of be a liaison. And I had just mentioned, because I think you just joined. So they emailed me on our the smoke at cryptotalkradio.net. That's the email. I'll put it in the chat again. They emailed this email address, or actually no, I emailed them from partners at, pretty sure it's partners at ctronair.net. That's the one that they should be using, ideally, because it's designed for partnerships. However, we also have the smoke at cryptotalkradio.net. That's our primary email address. They emailed us directly. And this is a business email, so it's not like, So they emailed us there. I emailed them back with my terms, and I said, hey, here's my term sheet. Just let me know when you want to move forward, and we can get the conversation going. There's this one short contract to sign, and we're off to the races. And I never heard back. When I went, I was checking in Telescam for a different project, and I noticed whatever her name is, Tina or something, she had DM'd and said that she never got the email, and I'm pretty sure it probably went to their spam or something. So then I said, if you can't work email, just reach me on Twitter. And I DM'd them on Twitter, because you have to follow somebody in order to DM them. So I DM'd them on Twitter. I don't think I've heard back as of yet. That's a negative. So it doesn't matter if they email. I prefer email because I need a paper trail. If they want to do Twitter, they can as well. And that's CTR Crypto Radio. I don't care which of those that they contact me with. This is for Infrared. It doesn't really matter. It just needs to be, it cannot be Telescam. I need a paper trail. Because we're doing a business transaction. I'm going to need them to review the term, say, yep, that sounds good. Review my proposal. Sounds good. There's a one-page agreement to start, figure out the payment methodology, which I already have ready to go once I hear from them, and then we're off to the races. I can start writing content. So if you can get them, if you can get this coordinated, I would really appreciate it. I would really awesome appreciate it. And I'll be right back because, well, let's see what she's doing. Okay, fine. Wasn't aware they reached out. Yeah. Friend, yeah, not to you. I'm showing appreciation to you for wanting to help liaison. They did try, but for whatever reason, something went weird. I don't know what happened where she couldn't reach. And so it's got to be either one of the emails, doesn't matter which, or both, whatever, or Twitter, so I can do a doc trail. If we can make this happen, I'm ready to go with my side. Let's just get it done. Or we could just jump right on in my studio. I could book a studio link, but I need to schedule it. So I need to know their schedule availability. Whatever we need to do, the only thing is it can't be Telescam. And that's awesome. That's what I mean by a great community, because it seems like the community really does care about the project. There's people out there that want it to succeed and want it to thrive. And I appreciate it, and I want to help do what I can to move it forward. Because, like I said, by the way, my bond actually unlocks in 30 minutes. So I decided I'm just going to toss that back in the bank, which is awesome. That's awesome, and hopefully another bond shows up. Anywho's, if there's no other questions, comments, suggestions, or anything else, I have to go grab my stuff that they just dropped off at my front door. Let's see. We do 100% speak on behalf. Thank you for that, Mfran. Thank you. They need it. Not the community, the devs. They need it. That's all they need is speak pieces, people to help bridge. And so taking that and helping to coordinate it is awesome. It's awesome, and I appreciate it. Truly do. Awesome. It's a great community. Love it. All right, I'm gonna stop the stream. Feel free to continue in regular comments once this posts. I have to go grab my stuff before it melts outside. Thank you to Mfaran for helping the liaison on this. Thank you for the questions. Henry O, comments on Midnight Craving. Totally appreciate it. We'll keep the course, and we'll see if we can get everything back on track. In the meanwhile, if you're a gambler on the grifters. I celebrate your right to gamble, and I'm not telling you not to. I'm just saying that they're grifters, and it should be obvious by now. See you guys.